Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this once again quarantined episode of Rhode Island College's officially unofficial pro wrestling, MMA, jiu-jitsu, fight world talk show, No Holds Barred, with your hosts, Jacob Ottaviani.
And Josh Percy, as always.
All right, so for once, I'm going to be able to talk my precious MMA.
I want to interrupt you just real quick. I think we're wearing very similar shirts.
Oh, we are. Is that Urban Pipeline?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, man, that's hilarious.
Right.
With your UFC talk.
I'm going to go into my UFC talk for just a couple of minutes here because that's my real true passion. If those of you who don't know, when I first started this show, it was just me, and I did 2 episodes that were just talking about the UFC. And then Josh joined, and we started doing pro wrestling as well. But for anyone who is in the mixed martial arts fandom, that community, it's been a rough month. Everything has gotten canceled. The last card I think was the UFC in Brazil in March, but the UFC 249 was supposed to happen in California. Then the governor of California kind of ratted on them to ESPN and Disney, so that got shut down. And now UFC 249 is in fact happening. It is in Florida, where WWE is also being filmed at the moment. So there's that. Fight Island is happening. Dana White is saying it'll be up and ready for June for Fighter. The Octagon will be on the beach, according to Dana White. And there will be training facilities, hotels, everything a fighter could ever want on the island. But UFC 249 is taking place May 9th in Florida. And this is kind of just an amalgamation of 3 cards that were good cards, and we have now resulted in one just super card. There's not one fight on this card, including the prelims, that could not be on any main card. It's a ridiculous UFC card. So I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up, working on these fights. This is probably just going to be me talking because Josh doesn't watch the MMAs as much as I try to get him to. But
yeah. Let me see here. I think I'm looking at the card here.
The first fight is Ryan Spann and Smiling Sam Alvey.
I think I know 2 names on this card.
Who are those 2 names?
Tony Ferguson and Greg Hardy.
We'll get to Greg Hardy. I'll hit on that one. But this first card, Sam Alvey is getting to a later point in his career. He's had some good wins. He has ups and downs. But Ryan Spann's coming up. If I'm correct, his last fight he beat Anderson Silva. My phone's not working at the moment, but I'm trying to pull up his record. I think he beat Anderson Silva. He kind of messed up his knee with an inside leg kick. I remember watching that fight. I could be completely incorrect here because my phone doesn't want to pull up his record. But this is just the prelims. Also on the prelims, next up is Bryce Mitchell and Charles Rosa. I don't know Charles Rosa all that well. I've heard his name before. But Bryce Mitchell was the kid who, in his last fight, pulled off a twister submission. Josh, you taking a picture of me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But Bryce Mitchell pulled off a twister submission that apparently he learned off of YouTube, which I can relate to as a currently quarantined jiu-jitsu blue belt. I'm learning everything off of YouTube at the moment. But the twister is like a really complex, hard move to pull off in terms just the setup's difficult. You need to know exactly what you're doing. And he just kind of went for it and figured it out. And it was the second ever twister in the UFC. The first was the Korean zombie, Chan Sung Jung. I'm very excited for this fight. They're both real young, hungry guys. Bryce Mitchell, everyone has a lot of eyes on this kid. So him coming up should be really, really interesting. Next up, it's Vicente Luque and Nico Price, which, again, should just be a war. Vicente Luque, the last fight I remember him having, he lost to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which was Thompson's first fight after getting knocked out by Anthony Pettis, who we'll see later on this card. He's up in a couple of fights. But Nico Price is just a savage. This is a welterweight fight. People, I think, looking at Nico Price to be one of the up-and-comers in the division coming up. Kamaru Usman's champion. He's been looking very dominant when he just dominated Tyron Woodley to win the title, and then he finished Colby Covington to defend it. But again, these first two fights, they're the first two fights on the prelims, but they would be on any main card and it wouldn't be misplaced. The next fight, the third fight on the prelims, is Uriah Hall, who is seeing somewhat of a career resurgence, versus Jacare Souza. My apologies. Souza's a legend. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, just a wizard on the ground. And Hall is probably most known for he went on a spree of like wheel kicks, just knocking people unconscious. He is probably the ugliest knockout that happened on the Ultimate Fighter. He came through that system off of that the reality television show. For those who don't know what the Ultimate Fighter is, he had hit some struggles when he came into the UFC itself, but he seems to be hitting a little bit of a strong stride at the moment. He's won his last couple. He's looking good. Right now, Uriah Hall is living in his gym. He has an air mattress set up in his training center so he can keep training for this fight. I don't know what Jacare is doing, but he's such a veteran and such a legend. He's got it, whatever, figured out. He's got it down. This next fight is very interesting to me. It's Michelle Waterson and Carla Esparza. Michelle Waterson is still looking to be the first mother to be a champion in the UFC. Her last fight was she lost a decision to Ioane and Jacek, who then went on to face current champion Weili Zhang in what might win fight of the year. The way this is going, there's not going to be a whole lot of competition. But that fight was absolutely incredible. And Carla Esparza, she's been up and down in the UFC. Again, she started in. I believe she's a former strawweight champion. I think she might have been the first. I think she won that season of the Ultimate Fighter. I think she beat Rose Namajunas. I could be completely incorrect. If I am, I apologize. I'm kind of just running off of my memory at the moment. But I'm very excited to see how Michelle Waterson is trying to bounce back off of that loss from Joanna. I'm personally a very big fan of Michelle Waterson, and I want to see her go on to eventually at least fight for that title again, and hopefully get it and be that first mom to be the UFC champion. But the next fight on this card is absolutely the one I'm most excited for, and I might be alone in that opinion. It's Alexei Oleinik versus Fabricio Verdum. This is about to be a grappling super show. Oleinik's won his last however many fights by submission. I think his nickname is the Python or the Russian Python or something like that. Absolutely deserving. He strangles everyone. He had the first, I think I'm the only guy to have who win by Ezekiel choke while mounted. It was absolutely crazy when he pulled that one off. But then there's Fabricio Verdum, who himself is one of the premier submission experts in the heavyweight division of the UFC. I mean, in mixed martial arts in general. He triangle choked Fedor Emelianenko when Fedor was still Fedor. And Josh, for you, Fedor is just this probably the greatest heavyweight, if not the greatest fighter of all time, through the early to mid 2010, through all the 2000s. He went on a 10-year run, 12-year run where he was undefeated. He fought mostly in Japan, but I think his third loss, maybe it might have been his first loss was to Verdum. I'm not completely sure on that one. I should probably know that. But he caught him at just the people Verdum is tapped out. He's a former UFC champion. He beat Cain Velasquez for the title when Cain was still supposed to be Cardio Cain. But I have no idea who's winning that fight. I am terrifically excited to see who wins in this grappling showcase. I really hope this just turns into a straight jiu-jitsu match, because I'm just excited to see what happens there. It reminds me of Askren and Damian Maia. Ben Askren and Damian Maia from over the summer. That was another grappling phenomenon. But we're almost done with the prelims here, Josh. I can see you're looking a little bit bored. It's just such a good card. I need to run through the whole thing. Then there's Donald Cowboy Cerrone is fighting Anthony Pettis. I'm surprised this one's still in the prelims. Donald Cerrone's last fight was Conor McGregor. Granted, third name you recognize.
I was just reading an article about him.
Okay.
He said that halfway through training for his fight against McGregor, he realized he didn't want to do it. But obviously, once you agree to do something, that's what I was reading, is that his mindset wasn't there when it came to the fight.
Where'd you read this?
Like just right now.
What website?
I'll bring it back up.
Because Cowboy Cerrone, that'd be the first I'd ever heard of him not wanting to be in a fight. His nickname is Cowboy for a reason, because he just likes to fight. That's just what he does. He's a prize fighter. He fights. But he pulls that up. It's interesting he's on the prelims because his last fight was Conor McGregor, and granted, he lost. I think it was a real quick loss. He lost in the first round, maybe 42 seconds. But that was just Conor McGregor being Conor McGregor and coming out being explosive. He caught him with those shoulder strikes. In that fight, it's not like Cerrone gave up in that fight. If you're pulling the Stephen A. Smith card and saying he gave up, I'm going to have to argue that pretty intensely, because in the fight with McGregor, Cerrone broke his nose and his orbital bone. So that's not just a you gave up. It's within the first 30 seconds, you can't breathe out of your nose, and then he breaks your orbital bone with either that head kick or the punches following up. But he's fighting Anthony Pettis. And Anthony Pettis, if anyone even just vaguely watched MMA highlights, you ever seen the guy like run up the cage and kick someone in the head? That was Anthony Pettis back in wasn't the WEC. No, it was the WEC. It was the WEC.
I got it right here for you.
Okay, what we got?
So, it wasn't a few weeks. It was a couple days before the fight. Okay. It comes off of website bjpen.com.
Okay.
Actually, if you ESPN MMA, it says on Twitter, if you want to look it up, it was shared today at 28. It was shared today at 6:00 that Donald showed up and the Cowboy wasn't there. He realized that he didn't want to be there. So obviously there was some type of mental blockage that was there days before that fight happened.
Yeah.
Obviously it talks about how he's completely mentally focused right now, and that's not going to be a problem this time.
Yeah, okay, I'm seeing that now. Donald showed up, Cowboy wasn't there. Biggest fight, all the attention, my time to shine. I didn't want to be there. Okay, so yeah. So that's the thing. So Cowboy's career has been the biggest criticism against him is that he hasn't been able to show up in the big fights. Like I believe he had an interim title fight at some point. And whenever it's come to fighting these like top 5 ranked guys, the big fights that matters, he hasn't shown up. The Cowboy everyone loves and that has the most head kick knockouts, the most wins in the UFC, he just doesn't show up. A lot of people say he chokes, but that might have gone to him in this last fight. I don't even think to speak for him or how that happened or any of that, but
I still think it was rigged. I watched it. I still think it was rigged.
No.
I think it was rigged to get Conor back on the map.
He broke his orbital bone and his nose.
I didn't say it was fake. I didn't say it was fake, Jake. I think that I still stand behind my take that he wasn't going to win that fight regardless.
I thought he was winning that fight going in. I thought he was going to win. Going into that fight, I thought Conor was going to be
There's more money in Conor Money McGregor.
We're not talking about Conor Cowboy. We're talking about Cowboy Pettis. Both these guys are coming off of losses. Anthony Pettis, who choked him out? His last fight, he got choked out. I don't remember the guy. It was a Brazilian gentleman. I don't remember his name. They're both coming off losses. Pettis has been he's been very, very up and down. He knocked out Thompson. He lost to Nate Diaz. He got choked out. I think he won somewhere in between those. I could be wrong. And then this Cowboy who was on this 3, 4, maybe 5 fight streak where he was looking phenomenal, fought Tony Ferguson, who was headlining this card, got decimated, broke his nose in between rounds. He tried to blow it. His eye blew up. If you break your nose and you try to like blow it, the blood, your eye like swells up and you can't see. That happened. The doctor stopped the fight. Then he lost the fight to Connor. All right. I don't know who go with that fight. I'm just excited to see these two legends duke it out. I want Cowboy to win because I love him with all of my heart. Main card time. I'm glad you're giving me this much time to talk about the UFC.
Oh, man. I know you love UFC, and when there's a big card, I want you to be able to.
I usually get like 5 minutes every couple of weeks to talk about this, so I'm just nerding out right now.
I mean, I looked at the card. It's a combination of a bunch of I think 2 cards.
They're still going to start doing like cards every week after this. I'm so excited. It's been like 2 months without MMA. It's been a drought. It's going to be awesome. The UFC is going to make so much money because they're the only game in town right now. They're the only sport. You don't count.
WWE's a sport, my friend.
Doesn't count. It's entertainment.
So is UFC.
No, that's sport. Anyway, we're going to the main card now. In the first fight on the main card, I so strongly disagree with being on the main card. This should be on the prelims, and then Cowboy Pettis should be on the main card. Anyway, it's Greg Hardy versus Juan de Castro. Greg Hardy, I hate him as a human being.
Yes.
I can't knock him as a fighter anymore. His first couple fights, he came in just knocking people out, and you can do that. Being like NFL football players and prior pro athletes see a lot of success early on in their mixed martial arts careers, especially at heavyweight, just by being athletic and having that endurance and explosiveness that comes with other sports.
Unless you're CM Punk.
He was 45 and looked terrible.
Yes.
And was kind of an embarrassment. His second fight was an embarrassment. His first fight was just an atrocity. No one should have ever let him fight Mickey Gall. But that was just mean. That was Dana White being mean. But, okay, so Greg Hardy, he had his first couple fights, looked phenomenal. I approve. And then he had one fight where he got disqualified for an illegal knee. I still think it's just him being a scumbag. Some people are like, oh, he just wasn't familiar with the rule set. Nah, he's a scumbag. I think he was gassing out and like, I can end this fight with a knee, and did it. Then he went on to win another one. Well, I think he had a draw or it was a no contest or something like that in another fight. And then he fought Alexander Volkov, who is a former Bellator heavyweight champion and is a consistent contender in the UFC. And Volkov won, but Hardy did much better than anyone expected him to. He lost the decision. He absolutely, there's no contest on whether he lost the fight, but he hung in there. He didn't look bad. He wasn't completely outclassed. And as he goes, we're going to see how far his athleticism goes and whether he hits that point of being able to transition to really being a fighter. Like I was saying earlier, these athletes that come into MMA into martial arts at a later age, they get by a lot on athleticism that they just naturally have. But when they get to these higher level fights, which this isn't one of these veterans he's fighting. He's fighting Juan de Castro. He's 6-0, but they're kind of serving him up. I think they're kind of serving him to Greg Hardy. We've seen him in the UFC before. He's a good fighter, but they're giving Hardy a fight he can win. But when Greg Hardy keeps going up the ranks and starts fighting people starts fighting the Rosenstrikes, the Ngannous, I mean, if he ever makes it a Stipe, if he's Oleinik, Verdum, any of these guys, it's really interesting to see how he'll do, considering how new he really is to martial arts and how seemingly one-dimensional he just knocks people out because he's big, he's strong, he's an NFL player. But once he gets to people who can strike really well and keep him threatened there, but then take him down, it's going to be really interesting to me to see how he adapts to these fighters that are well-rounded and are experienced and have fought these big, strong guys before and have already won. So if he can come through and get his skills to a point where he's more than just the big, strong football player who's really athletic, then I can't deny him anymore that he's actually a good fighter. His first couple fights, I tried to just put him down, adds nothing. I can't do that anymore, but I'm curious to see how high he will go in the rankings just because of how new he is to fighting. Next in the card, it's Jeremy Stevens and Calvin Kattar. I don't have a ton to say on this fight, just that it's going to be savage. It's just going to be violence. It'll just be violent. This isn't going to be like a technical, beautiful striking match or a beautiful jiu-jitsu match. This is going to be two guys. This is going to be a fight. Jeremy Stevens is just he's a brutal fighter. Calvin Kattar the same way. They're going to go to war, and whoever comes out is just going to be the tougher man. I think it's not going to be who's the more skilled in this one. It's going to be who's tougher and who can take up more punishment. Going one more, I mentioned both of these names a second ago talking about Greg Hardy. It's Francis Ngannou, and I can't remember his first name, Rosenstrike, however you want to say it. This fight is gonna, it's not gonna go outside the first round. Francis Ngannou is the most terrifying human walking the planet at the moment, in my personal opinion. He is 6'4", cuts weight to 265, shredded abs, grew up in a sand mine in Cameroon. Like, you take farmer strength, like farm boy strength, and amplify that by like 5, and you got sand mine strength. This man is responsible for potentially the most terrifying knockout we've ever seen in MMA, when he just he uppercutted Alistair Overeem so hard, the back of his head hit his neck. Just like, well, horrifying. He looked at his own heels. This is Rosenstrike, who also messed up Alistair Overeem. In the Overeem fight, he knocked him out with like a couple of seconds left in the third round, but hit him in a way that Alistair Overeem's lip just exploded. But what was impressive in that fight is just how he took Overeem's punishment. Like, Alistair Overeem was a K1 Grand Prix champion, Dream heavyweight champion, another champion I can't remember. I think it might have been Pride. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. Don't hate me if I'm wrong. But Alistair Overeem is no joke. He's one of the greatest kickboxers to ever live, especially as a heavyweight. And both of these guys starched him. They knocked him out. So this is just going to be a heavyweight powerhouse slugfest. I'm very excited. We're on to the last two fights, Josh. Bear with me.
Don't worry. I'm going to go grab something to read real quick.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to keep going. So, this fight, Henry Cejudo, Dominic Cruz. I'm so excited. This is Henry Cejudo, who has turned from this. Go fuck yourself.
Sorry, am I distracting you?
Go fuck yourself. This Henry Cejudo, who has turned from this Olympic gold medal wrestler who just takes everyone down and wins through his wrestling to an elite level striker. He's adopted this karate stance where he's sliding in and out. He's getting great angles. He's managing distance perfectly. But then when he needs to, he falls to his wrestling, which, again, he's the youngest ever Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. I want to say he was 20 or 21. And then you have Dominic Cruz, who is debatably the greatest bantamweight of all time in the UFC. Like, he's the only fighter where if you just showed, like, a silhouette of him moving, most fight fans and analysts could easily say who it was. He has such a unique style and a unique movement, and his footwork is so above everyone else's that I'm really curious. In a stand-up battle, I'm giving it to Dominic Cruz. Granted, the last time we saw him, he got pieced up by Cody Garbrandt in what was probably the performance of performance of Cody Garbrandt's life and his career, because he's looked nowhere near as good since. But Dominic Cruz ruled that division for so long. This is a man who came off of 3 ACL surgeries. He tore his ACL. It didn't work. He got a cadaver one put in place. His body rejected the cadaver. He got that one replaced. Then he blew out the ACL on his other knee. Then came back 6 months later and looked just as good, if not better, as when he first got hurt. The man who's coming back from shoulder surgery hasn't fought in 3 years. But the last time he didn't fight for 3 years, he went on to win the title. Like, you can't count him out. He's in his 30s, but he's not old. And I was listening to an interview with Dominic Cruz, and he's had so much time off in between his fights that he's already at peace with not fighting, which makes him want to fight more and be more focused when he's fighting. He's not fighting because he needs to. He's fighting because he wants to, and he thinks he's still the best. And this fight is going to be so interesting. I think this is going to turn into a stand-up war because Dominic Cruz has phenomenal takedown defense, and he is a great wrestler. And Henry Cejudo, again, Olympic gold medalist. He's Triple C, UFC featherweight champion, UFC bantamweight champion, Olympic champion. This is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a technical, from a striking perspective, it's going to be a technical masterpiece. From a grappling perspective, it's going to be a technical masterpiece. And I just can't wait. And now, the main event. The fight that no one thought they wanted, but everyone really wanted. Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje, I apologize. Which was, I believe this is for the interim lightweight title. And just go back to the last fight. The Henry Cejudo Dominic Cruz fight is for the bantamweight title. The 135-pound title. You know, Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, I believe, are fighting for the interim lightweight, the 155-pound title. Because the current lightweight champion, Khabib Nurmagomedov, had to pull out of this fight because he could not secure passage outside of Russia due to the COVID pandemic. Also, with him, it's coming up on Ramadan, and he is a very, very devout Muslim, and he always just takes Ramadan and at least a month or two after off to recover from the fasting. But this fight, Tony Ferguson, his nickname is El Cucuy for a reason. El Cucuy is like the Mexican boogeyman. Tony Ferguson is horrifying. He doesn't get tired. In this fight with Cowboy, they were going to the second round. He didn't even look a little bit tired. Not even a little bit tired. He wasn't even breathing hard after 2 rounds. And if you I think he's on a 12-fight win streak. If you look at the last 12 guys he's beat, their faces look like they got hit by a train. He's such a unique guy. The way he trains is so bizarre. He does the weirdest motions. He does kung fu. He's like one of those wooden kung fu dummies. But then he'll use kung fu in his fights. In his comeback fight against Anthony Pettis, he legitimately used Wing Chun kung fu. He caught his wrist, moved it, and countered with an elbow. He uses kung fu in mixed martial arts. He's just this. He is El Cucuy. He's a boogeyman. No one wants to fight him. And I wish this was Tony Khabib, because that fight has now been scheduled and called off 5 times. It's been 5 years since they first started trying to make that fight. Has not yet happened. Now Tony is fighting for his second interim title. He had it. He blew his ACL tripping over some wires at like a media shoot. And they stripped him of the title. He's about to be a double interim champ before he gets his actual title. So, but then they have Justin Gaethje, who, I think I'm quoting Joe Rogan here, is violence personified, where he just goes, he's so reckless. He also beat Cowboy. So no, he beat Cowboy. So before Cowboy's fight with Conor, he fought and got knocked out by Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is a wild man. It's calculated wildness. He knows what he's doing. He weighs the risk, but if he has a 60-40 chance, he's taking it. If he has a 51-49 chance, he's taking it. He's not people who are like, okay, I need to sit back and wait till I have the best possible chance to land this and move and do that. No, he's like, okay, I'm gonna get hit in the face, but if I have a chance to hit them a little bit harder, I'm gonna do it. This is a guy who has phenomenal. I believe, he was a Division I wrestler in college. Completely ignores that. He doesn't wrestle in his fights. He wants to knock you out. In this fight, I have no idea. Originally, Gaethje took this fight when it was originally scheduled on 2 or 3 weeks' notice. He's had an extra couple weeks to prep, and now he's had a full camp. At this point, if Tony Ferguson's been training at his normal, stupid, intense level for the whole time when he thought he was fighting Khabib, he might be overtrained. So we might be seeing an overtrained Tony Ferguson fighting a peaking Justin Gaethje. And I have no idea. I want Tony Ferguson to win the fight so that he can eventually fight Conor. Or not Conor. Sorry. Conor's in this scenario, but I want Ferguson to fight Khabib, Gaethje to fight Conor, and the winner of Gaethje-Conor to fight the winner of Tony Khabib. Okay. Josh, that's the end of the card. You can start paying attention again.
Yeah!
Let's get you into MMA eventually, and then you'll get into this with me.
What time? What year is this?
It's about 20 or 30 minutes after we start. I went on for a long time. It's the first card in months. I'm gonna nerd out on it.
Keep an eye on that time frame there.
I don't see it's not giving me any sort of time limit. So if it's not, we'll start a new one and start fresh. But
that's fine. So I'll just let you know what happened on Monday Night Raw. I'll fill you in.
So quick, we're transitioning from the world of UFC MMA into
the other active sport. The only other active sport right now.
It is. It's the only active one. Hey, jiu-jitsu is still going. Submission Underground 13 happened Saturday night. It was amazing. Anyway.
Yeah. So I had it up here and I lost it. But so unfortunately, WWE has done a good job confusing me personally because I don't know what's live and what's not.
I think that's perfect.
I think it's perfect because I know they've already recorded Money in the Bank, but are they doing matches live now? What happens if somebody gets hurt, which I'll get into in a minute?
Nia Jax.
No. Surprisingly not. So the night kicked off with the VIP lounge with MVP, which first off, I love MVP. I've been watching a lot of old WrestleManias. He's a good mid-card guy. But in no chance in 2020 was somebody going to believe that he was going to A, qualify for the Money in the Bank match, B, win the Money in the Bank match, C, cash in on Drew McIntyre to become a main eventer in 2020. Nowhere was that in a possibility.
One match. He hasn't won a single match.
Good.
No, give him one jobber to hit the ball and elbow on. One jobber.
All right. Then do that later. Because now he's managing a tag team, which I'll get to in a minute. So it kicked off with the VIP lounge with the Monday Night Raw representatives for the Money in the Bank match. So Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, and Apollo Crews. So Aleister Black's mystique probably isn't ideal to use in a VIP interview area. But it led to a 3-man tag match with Zelina Vega's ragtag team, where Crews took out Andrade for the victory.
Okay.
So that led to a U.S. title match later that night. Baszler versus Asuka versus Nia Jax happened, but it never happened.
Who did Nia Jax hurt?
No one. But Asuka did bring up the botched powerbomb of Nia Jax last week.
Is Kairi Sane concussed?
No idea, probably.
Because it was like, choke slam. You should land with your arms on the top rope your head's hitting the middle turnbuckle directly because she's a terrible worker and is super unsafe.
Yes. That match never happened. They just brawled. which made sense. Why would you book your 3 top women on Raw outside of Becky Lynch, one of them to lose before the Money in the Bank match? Bobby Lashley squashed a jobber.
As he does.
Liv Morgan beat Ruby Riott again.
Can we just say, Liv Morgan, thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Oh, yeah!
Thumbs up over Mandy Rose.
Ooh.
No, yes.
Take Mandy Rose any day of the week.
Nope. Liv Morgan.
Don't hinder the Jinder. Jinder Mahal showed up and beat Tozawa.
I'm keeping him in mind for a discussion in a couple of minutes.
That's okay. He looked good. He's still ripped. He didn't get fat while injured.
So he's still like veiny and steroided.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then Apollo Crews versus Andrade ended due to referee stoppage because Apollo Crews injured his knee coming down from the top rope. So the question is it a work or is it a real injury?
Because he's in Money in the Bank, correct?
He was supposed to be in the Money in the Bank match, but they pulled him from it.
Last week, correct?
Yes. I think they I don't know. I know they filmed the Money in the Bank matches, so I don't know if it's a work or if he really got injured.
I didn't watch it, but even if I did, it's so hard. Like, there's been so many times I've thought it's a work or it wasn't, and I thought it was. Do you remember when Alexa Bliss turns out she could dislocate her own elbow? And everyone was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. Then she was like, oh no, it's a joke. I can just hyperextend my elbow.
Yeah. But the issue is that Paul Heyman really likes him. So he wanted to push him a little bit on Raw. So for him to get injured and taken out of a Money in the Bank match after pinning Andrade earlier in the night, I think he might have actually injured himself.
That doesn't make sense to me at all. He beat MVP, which isn't saying all that much. Then if you have him beat Andrade, WWE has been super high on Andrade, considering he's fucking Charlotte Flair.
Yes.
So he gets that protection.
Wait a minute, I didn't hear you, Jake. What was your explanation for Andrade's push?
Oh, he's fucking Ric Flair's daughter.
Oh man. But why? The question would be, why would they have him go on a win streak, beat MVP, beat Andrade, just to remove him for a kayfabe injury in the Money in the Bank match?
They could have him come back and look really strong and win Money in the Bank.
No, they already pulled him.
Oh, they from the match itself?
They pulled him from Money in the Bank last night. At the end of the night, he was pulled.
But it had already been recorded.
So I think Monday night was already recorded as well.
Okay.
So if he had gotten injured after they filmed Money in the Bank, he wouldn't have been pulled.
When's Money in the Bank? Is it next weekend?
Yes, the 10th, Mother's Day.
So next Monday they'll probably have a replacement match.
Yes. I was just going to say I thought that was interesting. It puts the whole question of filming ahead of time into question.
You have to do it all ahead of time or none of it ahead of time.
So the thing is that I know they already filmed the Money in the Bank matches. So if they pulled Crews, that means it's probably kayfabe.
But you just said you thought Monday was also pre-recorded.
Yes, but they recorded Money in the Bank 2 weeks ago.
Okay, fair.
And I think they filmed Monday Night Raw sometime last week.
Okay, so yeah, that's definitely a kayfabe injury.
Hopefully.
Or something, I don't know. Or they'll say, like, he pulled him, but, oh, he came back. I don't know.
It'll be interesting. But Ricochet and Cedric Alexander defeated some enhancement talent.
I like that tag team.
MVP is now managing Sean Thorne and whatever his name is, Brendan Vink, that tag team that Ricochet and Cedric Alexander have beaten on Monday Night Raw already a couple times.
So they're going nowhere and neither is MVP.
Yes. He's now, I think it should have been the other way around.
Yes, absolutely. He should be on Alexander and Ricochet. That'd be phenomenal.
Yes. But it looks like they're going to be a tag team. And other than that, then you had the Monday Night Messiah and Drew
I'm rocking this
McIntyre.
hairstyle right now. I'm pulling off that cosplay pretty well.
Him and McIntyre did their contract signing, and Buddy Murphy is still a follower of the Monday Night Messiah, and he ate a Claymore kick for interfering. But that's how Monday Night Raw went. I didn't watch it. I watched the highlights.
That's what I tend to do. I don't have cable, so I almost always watch the highlights.
Yeah. Uh, so Mandy on SmackDown this week, you have Mandy Rose and Carmella facing off for the final spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Do you think Carmella gets in with Sonya Deville interfering, or does Mandy Rose get in?
Mandy Rose is going to get in. She's in the middle of a big story. Either they're going to build the story with Sonya Deville making her lose, or she's going to win. Both are possible. I think Mandy Rose is going to get it. They haven't been super hot on Carmella recently. Her time seems to have passed, and I hope it does because she's not great.
I don't know. I like Carmella, honestly, and I think she's probably. I think what's going to happen is at Money in the Bank, I think it's too soon, but I do think that we are going to get a Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler versus Otis and Mandy Rose before we get a Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville. I think they might try to save that for SummerSlam, but. I think Carmella gets in. She will be able to feud with the rest of the women in there as being able to be the only one who has won the Money in the Bank contract twice.
Wait, who's won it twice?
Carmella.
Oh my god, I thought it was just once.
No, it was once technically, because remember Ellsworth?
Ellsworth.
Yes.
Oh Jesus.
He went up the ladder and got it for her and dropped it down, so she won the match.
Sex slave, whatever the hell he was.
And then on the following night of SmackDown, they did the ladder match again, and she won without his help. Well, no, not without his help, but she pulled down the briefcase her own this time.
Yeah.
She's technically, if you check 2K, WWE 2K20, it says that she is a two-time WWE Money in the Bank contract.
We know 2K21.
Rest in peace. Pour one out for the homies.
They messed the game up so bad they can't make a sequel. And they're going back to WWE All-Stars, which I'm not mad about.
I'm kind of upset, but it's whatever. I have 2K20, which is good for 2 years. It's fine. I'll just be able to wrestle as Rusev as many times as I want.
Oh, what are they going to do? Are they going to patch it and take him out? Once he goes to AEW, are they patching it and taking him out?
Doubt it. I still have 14, and I still have 19 and 18 too for PS4, and they didn't take anybody out. So, you also have on SmackDown Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, who
my favorite storyline.
That winner gets in for the Money in the Bank match.
Does Otis win Money in the Bank? That would make me so happy on a multitude of levels.
That would be insane, but I don't think so.
No, Vince doesn't care about the fans' opinion enough.
I think Aleister Black is a shoo-in, so.
Yeah, that's my vote as well.
Either him or Daniel Bryan, one of the two. Daniel Bryan could cash in on The Fiend, who we all know is going to win the Universal Championship back.
I think Daniel Bryan is going to continue feuding with Shinsuke, Sami Zayn.
I would agree with that.
Especially after Raw, or I believe it was SmackDown, my mistake.
Yeah.
Where his crew beat up Drew Gulak.
Absolutely.
That feud's not over.
I agree with you. I totally agree. And King Corbin and Rey Mysterio are most likely not going to be possibles. I also don't think Dolph Ziggler or Otis are going to be possibilities. So it's going to be Aleister Black or maybe Kevin Owens.
Either one would make sense to me.
If they throw in like Angel Garza or Austin Theory because they technically took out on Apollo Crews. If one of them gets in, I think Aleister Black's a shoo-in. But Money in the Bank, you also have Strowman and Bray Wyatt. It doesn't say The Fiend though, so
But the last time he came out as Bray Wyatt, he also won.
I know, but I think that's interesting because The Fiend feasts. If you see his character, I know this has been going around a lot, is that The Fiend can't lose to people that have different personalities. So if you go through the time frame, like John Cena, he had so many different personalities. He lost to Goldberg because Goldberg's pretty much been the same jerk he's been when he was with WWE before to was he is now. He's just a jerk at this point.
He's had the same gimmick through WCW,
exactly.
New Japan.
He feasts on those who have multiple gimmicks to show their weaknesses and whatnot. And with Braun Strowman, he was the Black Sheep. He was a Wyatt family member. And then he went out on his own. So he's got multiple different gimmicks to get these hands. So I do think The Fiend, I'm surprised The Fiend isn't announced as the opponent, but instead it's Bray Wyatt. But I guess they have more feuding capacity, I guess. I think Bayley and Tamina at Money in the Bank is pretty. To me, no one sees Tamina as an actual title contender.
No one's meaner than Tamina.
No.
No, Nia Jax is meaner than Tamina. Nia Jax will end your career.
Wait a minute. No, you used the wrong term. It's called bad wrestler.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, unskilled and dangerous.
Dangerous wrestler.
Kayfabe is she's just mean.
And then you have McIntyre and Rollins. I think McIntyre wins that, of course.
Absolutely.
But I know I texted you an idea of what we could do. So you have your. So I think we're gonna. Is there any time frame up on the?
I see no time frame. Let's keep it going.
All right, we'll keep it going here. So I think me and Jake talked about what we can do for the show today, and we're gonna do fantasy booking our title matches at SummerSlam, which is 3 months away. Still in Boston, apparently.
We'll get ticket prices.
I have been. They're not budging.
They're still stupid expensive.
Yes. So I started off with the Universal Championship.
Universal Championship. What do you got?
Yeah. I have the champion Drew McIntyre.
Yep.
Defending against AJ Styles.
See, I went a totally different route. I have Drew McIntyre defending against Jinder Mahal.
That's also a possibility.
Whatever that weird hand sign he did was it this?
Inner peace.
I forgot about the inner peace gimmick he had. Oh my god, when he turned into a yogi. He was a yogi for a little bit after he lost the title. But he's back to like the claw. Almost the inner circle, but it doesn't spread out the fingers. Or the Dark Order, but doesn't spread out the fingers.
Yes, exactly. I think that'd be my second option. If AJ Styles faces The Undertaker at SummerSlam in a rematch.
3 months away.
Yes.
Heath Slater has time to get jacked.
No, he doesn't.
Vince will turn a blind eye. He's gonna take some testosterone, some HGH. He's gonna get swole like those other two because they all used to look exactly the same, and now two of them are jacked. What happened?
No idea.
I can only guess in it. I think it's some of those Mexican supplements, that Brazilian acai, steroids.
All right. WWE Championship match. What do you got?
The Fiend, Jeff Hardy.
Use gun.
I stole your match.
No. So my first option is no arena. It's The Fiend versus Roman Reigns in a Firefly Funhouse match.
Boo. Don't use that again. It was perfect when you did it the first time.
No, I know that. if it's in front of a crowd, no, sorry, my bad. I mixed them up. If it's in front of a crowd, it's Roman Reigns versus The Fiend. If it's not, and it's in the Performance Center, it's Jeff Hardy versus The Fiend. That's what I have as my two matches, because I kind of thought about that. I go, Vince isn't going to want to crown Roman Reigns in front of no crowd after not doing it at Mania. And if there's no crowd, Reigns isn't coming back.
That's the perfect time to crown Roman Reigns with no crowd so nobody can boo him.
But if there's no crowd, the virus is still an issue and he's not coming back. So Jeff Hardy is my number two guy for that match. If it's I'm going off of a live crowd. So but I like that. That's a good one right there.
Building Jeff Hardy up for a pretty big return. He had that one-off match for the
Baron
Corbin. And then after that, he's been off, and they've been having like vignettes and like the history of Jeff Hardy videos. And when he comes back, if it's not with no more words, I'm gonna break my TV.
You're gonna break your TV.
That song is on my Spotify playlist. There are only 3 wrestling themes on my Spotify playlist. It's "Burning My Light," Randy Orton's old theme song, "No More Words," and Cody Rhodes' current theme song, "Kingdom." That's how good "No More Words" is.
He did say that WWE owns the rights to it, so he could use it, and he wants to use it. So I'm hoping
they need to use it.
Yes. Okay. Intercontinental Championship. I'm gonna have the Intercontinental Champion Daniel Bryan defend against 3 men in a ladder match.
Nope.
It's gonna be Jeff Hardy.
No.
Sheamus and Cesaro and Daniel Bryan in a ladder match, because they didn't get to do the Intercontinental ladder match at Mania, which I think they wanted to do, but they leaned towards the tag match instead. I think they're going to do an Intercontinental Championship ladder match at Mania with a mixture of those guys that are involved in that current Intercontinental Championship scene: Shinsuke, Cesaro, Sammy, Daniel Bryan, Drew Gulak. I also think Hardy could be involved, and of course I want Sheamus to get that Grand Slam championship, baby. I think Sheamus is going to be going after that Intercontinental Championship as soon as a face has it.
So I think I had a different idea, but you said something that completely changed my mind. I was going to say SummerSlam was going to be the blow-off to Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, but you changed my mind. Daniel Bryan already has a belt. Daniel Bryan, Drew Gulak again.
For the belt?
For the belt. Drew Gulak goes over.
Ooh.
I was thinking about this the other day. I love their matches so much. I don't know if it's because I have like a real grappling background. Like I wrestled for 6 years through middle school and high school. I do jiu-jitsu, all that stuff. But watching their matches, most of the time when I watch wrestling now, I do it with like this is fun. I really like this. Like, this is fun. When I watch their matches, they make me believe again. Half the time when they do shit, I'm like, oh, that's either a real move or like that looks painful. I really like how they grapple. That's a good transition. They make me believe again when they, specifically those two, do it. And it's part of like when they're warming each other, like they're in each other's corner, they're warming up, they're doing like real drills, they're doing like shoot sprawl drills, they're pummeling. I love when they're together. And I think they could do even better than they have together in the ring.
I can agree. Totally. I could definitely see that. That's definitely a possibility if that's the outcome of the Gulak Bryan storyline. In U.S. Championship, what do you got?
U.S. is hard. I don't know who's going to have it at that point. I assume Andrade is still going to have it unless he breaks up with Charlotte.
You're so certain that that's the only reason he's getting pushed.
No, that's not. It's just really funny to me, and I like to make those jokes. He's a phenomenal wrestler and deserves to be in the main event picture.
So my pick for that match is the ideal WrestleMania match that I think was going to happen. Is a Rey Mysterio versus Andrade in a last man standing match for the U.S. Championship.
If Rey Mysterio can make it through that match without blowing out both his ACLs, I will praise whatever deity exists. Praise Odin if those two make it through. If Rey makes it through without blowing out both his ACLs, because the men's ACLs are tissue paper. But that would
Absolutely.
be a phenomenal match.
I bounced back and forth between, I wanted to have one or two multi-person matches for the titles. It wasn't going to be the main titles. I figured at least one of the mid card and either one of the women's titles would be a multi-match. But I don't see Garza or Theory turning on Andrade. I see them as the new Latino New World Order right now.
Latino Heat.
Latino Heat, maybe. Yeah. I lie, I cheat, I steal.
Why don't you get a gif out of that?
I do see
out of that and put in the XIN board chat.
Do it, absolutely.
Perfect.
I definitely see them as, I know Austin Theory is not Latino. And I think the ideal group was going to be Humberto Carrillo, who I think has dropped off the face of the planet. Definitely something to do with the COVID pandemic.
He's probably scared, like everyone else is.
Yes.
Right.
And he might not be able to get out of wherever he's living if he's living out of state. You have Andrade as the leader, or you had Rey Mysterio as the leader with Garza, Humberto Carrillo, and Andrade as the heel. But they did the Monday Night Messiah thing, and then one of the authors of Pain got injured, so I don't think they were going to do 2 4-man heel groups on Monday Night Raw. I mean, they barely liked having AJ Styles in the club on Monday Night Raw, as you can see.
They fired the club.
They did. That's my point here. But with them gone, and I think would be the time for them, that's what I would have liked. But still, I don't see Zelina Vega's group breaking up within this year. So I do think it'll just be a single match. I would have thrown Angel Garza into that match as well, but I don't think they're going to turn on each other. So a simple Rey Mysterio, Andrade, it could be some type of stipulation match. Mask versus hair. I know that was talked about a lot. Rey Mysterio's mask versus Andrade's beautiful hair.
Well, that's when Andrade goes bald.
Well,
then they would have to run past Charlotte.
That's my point. Charlotte likes his hair, so that's never going to happen. And I quote from Dave Meltzer, that's the only reason that match has not happened yet.
Ray's not unmasking.
No. Ray doesn't care about unmasking.
He did it in WCW.
Exactly. And he could turn it over to Dominic as well. I also thought about Cain Velasquez.
He got released.
He got released, unfortunately.
Good. Come back to UFC, dude.
He was the type of guy that I thought that could join that Latino New World Order, have Garza.
Got all these. I'm pretty sure his spine is essentially like in a cage.
Yeah.
His knees are messed up. He's had a lifetime of wrestling and MMA. His body's broken. Yeah.
I think that was the smartest move that WWE made. They signed him to a long-term contract. They definitely needed to get out of that.
Why did they fire him instead of the club? They definitely paid him more money.
They're paying both of them good money. Anybody who got released that recently signed a new deal got bank, apparently.
Really?
Yes, because the club did not request a release.
No, they got fired.
They got fired, so they needed to come to a agreement.
It was a severance package.
Correct. So the club got paid very handsomely to be fired. I'm assuming Cain Velasquez did as well. But it'll never match the $4.5 million they're going to save by firing all these people.
They have so much money. Been mad about that enough.
But that's my match for the U.S. Championship. So what do you got?
U.S., I don't know. It's definitely going to involve Andrade's not going to drop it. It's hard to say who's going to be his opponent. It could be Ray, but I don't know. I tried to think about this one for a while, and I'm really unsure about it. Okay, you froze for a second.
Okay. Yeah, you froze for a second as well. Internet connection is unstable.
Okay. I'm really unsure about who's going to be Andrade's opponent. It could be anyone. 3 months out, that title picture is so not planned in advance.
Yeah.
It could be Ray because they feuded in the past. It could be Apollo Crews. It could be, even though he's hurt. But that's it for Monday Night. It could be Apollo Crews. It could be Aleister Black. It could be literally anybody. Ray Mysterio. Screw it. Let's have Ray win the title. Yes, give him all the belts.
I agree with that one. Raw Tag Team Championships. What do you got?
Raw, that's New Day, correct? Or that's SmackDown?
No, that's Street Profits.
Street Profits. Okay. Again, I don't know. There's in 3 months is such a long time frame where there's no one being really built up to beat them at the moment, unless I'm being stupid and forgetting. Who am I forgetting?
The tag team that has won matches on the last 3 Monday Night Raws.
Ricochet.
The only other 2 tag teams that have been featured is Garza and Theory.
And Ricochet and Alexander.
Okay. So I think the Street Profits are going to hold it for a little while. They might lose it just after Mania. I could see them losing a hellish Hell in a Cell battle against the Viking Raiders, possibly. But I think that Ricochet and Alexander will earn an opportunity sometime in July to face the Street Profits at SummerSlam. I think that those 3 guys right there are insanely talented. We all know Ricochet and Cedric Alexander can put on a hell of a show. Throw them in there at the Street Profits, absolutely. That'd be insane.
Smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We do want the smoke. Maybe pair a woman on the Raw roster with Alexander and Ricochet and have Belair involved as well, maybe.
He just moved up and is kind of their manager escort at this point.
I think it could be interesting. But that's who I had. I think you're absolutely right. It could be Garza in Theory. It could be It could be the Viking Raiders. It could really be, they lost AOP, unfortunately, who I think.
Could be back by then.
Maybe. You're right. You're right.
Things have happened. Going back to the UFC thing, it was Dominic Cruz who was like, "Oh, I can't fight now. I blew my ACL," and then could absolutely fight and won the title. So
yeah, it could really be any of them, but I think the Street Profits will be involved. But I think you're absolutely right. That title scene is very open-ended at this moment. As you can see, Raw is very open-ended at this moment.
SmackDown as well. SmackDown titles. Where are you going?
I'm going to go back to an old-time favorite.
Mm-hmm.
The New Day as champions. I think that they're going to beat Lucha House Party at Money in the Bank. I think Lucha House Party will get a title opportunity. I think they're then going to beat the Forgotten Sons in June. They're going to beat Miz and Morrison in July. and then the Usos are going to come to claim what is rightfully theirs, and we're going to have a very good 2 out of 3 falls New Day match versus the Usos for the SmackDown titles at SummerSlam, because hell, those 4 guys could put on a 5-star match in an empty arena. So that's all I'm going with, man.
If you think the Usos are making it that long in quarantine without a DUI, you're insane. It's going to be the New Day, the Forgotten Sons.
Yo, that was very good, I have to admit. That was solid. I am very impressed.
One of them's getting arrested. One of them's going full John Jones in the next 3 weeks.
Bearing all DUIs aside, I'm going with
guys to the Usos. If you ever somehow see this video, I love you both. But
absolutely, but no, you're absolutely true. That's a good point. But yeah, I'm going. I just want to see a good SmackDown tag team.
It'll be either the Forgotten Sons defending or retaining the titles. Hot take, I know. Hot take.
Hot take. All right, Raw Women's Championship match. This is the one where I bounced back and forth a lot.
Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair.
So I have a triple.
Belair goes over.
I have a triple threat match.
Okay.
With Becky Lynch, the champion.
Yep.
Versus Shayna Baszler.
Mm-hmm.
And Bianca Belair.
Who goes over?
Baszler.
You think Vince will have been sold on her by then?
That's the idea. I don't think she wins Money in the Bank.
I think she does.
You think she does?
Yep.
Either way, I think Baszler leaves SummerSlam as Raw Women's Champion, whether she cashes in on Lynch or Belair, who just won, which would be very interesting, since Belair and Shayna Baszler fought together on Team Baszler in NXT.
Yep. They
were both heels. Be very interesting, the history between those two from NXT, bringing that to Monday Night Raw. They have great chemistry. Throwing Becky Lynch in there obviously wouldn't hurt the match. So I can agree with you on either take there, but I do think Baszler leaves SummerSlam as Raw Women's Champion.
I think Belair goes over. It seems like everyone's been really, really hot on her. Like, they've been big fans. They've been pushing her pretty hard, especially because she was the unofficial third member of the Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match for a while.
Correct. We both thought that she could have gotten added in, which I do think actually happens. I will touch on that NXT championship in a moment.
Okay.
After that, SmackDown Women's Championship. What do you got? I know what you want to go with.
It's going to be Bayley Banks, right?
That, I think if it still happens in Boston in front of a crowd, it's got to be Bayley Banks. But I don't know.
Well, if it's Lacey Evans, I'm jumping out this window.
No. Yes, it is. No, I'm just playing.
Get out this window, Josh. I'll record it.
So after 3 months of feuding and building her up as an independent women's wrestler and going over in her feud with Sonya Deville, I have Mandy Rose facing Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship, because I honestly don't think that it's going to happen in Boston, which it'd be perfect if it was Banks versus Sasha. That pop when Bayley taps out to, the
Banks statement.
The Banks statement, that's
incredible.
Make that crowd erupt immediately.
Get Snoop Dogg at ringside. Oh,
Yeah, easily. I do think that Bayley holds on to the title a little bit longer. If the Raw Women's Championship changes hands, I think Bayley retains. I like Mandy Rose. She's still a little iffy with in-ring talent. Hopefully the next 3 months facing Sonya Deville and hopefully feuding with a few other people as well can help grow her in-ring talent just a little bit more to get to that SmackDown Women's level. I think she reminds me a lot of Trish Stratus. She has a lot of potential and can definitely be solid in the ring if given the opportunity. Not a 5-minute match, obviously,
no.
Where they got to rush everything. But I do think that Mandy Rose versus Bayley, if it's in Boston, Vince might be tempted to go Sasha Banks. But I think Mandy Rose might win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Imagine her and Otis, one of them walking around with a Money in the Bank briefcase. Come on.
Otis with Money in the Bank on one shoulder.
And Mandy Rose on the other.
That's a happy man right there. He's living all of our dreams.
Or imagine Otis carrying around Mandy's Money in the Bank briefcase for her because he's a simp.
Hey.
So I think that Charlotte defends. I think we have a Rhea Ripley and Charlotte rematch at SummerSlam as well.
You think Charlotte defends?
Yes.
See, I'm still mad that she won it in the first place, so I'm saying Rhea Ripley wins it back.
No, yeah, that's where I'm going. That's exactly where I'm going. I said I think that they're going to have unfortunately, Rhea Ripley had to go home because her work visa ended. So I don't know if she'll be able to be back in time for SummerSlam. But if she is, I'd love to see Rhea Ripley come back like 3 weeks before SummerSlam. Charlotte Flair's walking on high water. She's beaten, Mia Yim. She's beaten Io Shirai. She's beaten Candice LeRae. She's beaten every woman in the NXT roster. And Rhea Ripley
ruin the women's division.
Charlotte
Flair just ruined the thing that's currently the best thing in pro wrestling.
She won't beat everyone. She'll beat the top 3 or 4 wrestlers in the next 3 or 4 months on pay-per-view, possibly, or on NXT once a month. She'll beat somebody. She might become that cocky open challenge type on NXT to build up some ratings. But I could see Rhea Ripley just jumping her one night and just beating the crap out of her and setting up a rematch for SummerSlam and just finally winning that title for the second time. Only 3 women I think have done that. Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair. I can't remember if Baszler lost it or not.
She never did.
Okay, so then Charlotte Flair is the only 2-time NXT Women's Champion. So I think it'd be really interesting to see Rhea Ripley go over at SummerSlam. Would be the sight to see, I think, with a bigger build-up. Fans already pissed that she lost at Mania.
Stupid decision.
I was right, man. What can I say?
Building a new star. Because of that match, you owe me a Ric Flair chop.
No, I owe you a Ric Flair chop because you didn't have confidence in Sami Zayn, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Becky Lynch or Bayley. That's why.
It's that me having to take that Ric Flair chop, which is going to keep me in somewhat decent shape through this quarantine. Because the only way to properly take a Ric Flair chop is shirtless, and I'm not doing that flabby.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I was still hoping that the New Day were going to win at Mania, but they won a few weeks later, so it's fine, I guess.
I didn't understand that at all, but whatever.
It's an Xavier Woods thing. It's just money talks, man. But I don't know. I haven't felt I watched SmackDown, but I haven't felt a need to watch Monday Night Raw.
No,
Live.
I don't know why. It's just there's nothing going on, nothing interesting. Like it's Drew. I like Drew McIntyre.
Yes, no, I like.
But it would be so much better with the crowd.
Yes,
It's the lack of crowd is starting to hurt my desire to actively watch it.
I still watch SmackDown because the Mandy Rose Otis storyline.
That one just gives me personal satisfaction every week.
Absolutely. The Bray Wyatt Braun Strowman feud, top notch. The women's tag team division on SmackDown, top notch. I think SmackDown's doing a better job than Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw might be doing a better job of building up newer wrestlers like Garza, Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, Apollo Crews, Austin Theory. But SmackDown has the better storylines.
I'm not sure now is the time to be building up new stars. Now's the time to be like, let's just keep it going.
I can agree. That's why I think I'm not worried about Drew McIntyre dropping it, because Vince took the belt off of Rollins because the ratings were down and wasn't building up to it. I know Vince thinks that the ratings are down because Lesnar's gone, which is not a fact because Lesnar was never there.
He was never there.
I don't know what this crazy senile old man thinks.
The same bringing up Katie Vick again would be a good idea. Did you watch the 25th anniversary Triple H thing? They brought up Katie Vick twice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But they also crapped on Triple H's WrestleMania record. I'm not going to lie. That was hilarious.
That one was pretty funny. But seriously, they brought up Katie Vick.
Vince doesn't care. I've been reading reports about his mindset behind the stage. He's like, screw it. We're going to do whatever we want because I honestly don't think that any title will change hands until a live crowd is back.
I think he's just depressed because the XFL went out of business again.
He didn't have to do that, though.
He kind of did.
He didn't have to.
Ratings were going.
What?
The XFL ratings were going.
Actually, it was the opposite.
I remember reading ESPN articles that the ratings were starting to tank after the season.
No, they declined, but they did not fall lower than people expected. So they were still doing better for viewership and for, honestly, the content. I watched XFL once a week. It was insane. I loved
games.
I watched the games.
Yeah, I watched multiple games. It was fun. It was football. There wasn't really any difference to the NFL.
No, there was.
There was a couple of differences, but like just sitting casually watching, it wasn't like a super different product.
Exactly, which I think works to their success because before they tried to make it a whole different product.
Yes.
And I think if it wasn't for COVID-19 and the pandemic, I think that the XFL could have been successful for a very long time.
Didn't they cut their season like halfway short?
They played half the season and then they postponed it. 2 weeks later, they canceled it. And then Vince said that they were furloughing all the employees and there were no plans to return in 2021. And again, that might be from paying the football players and the coaches and losing money on tickets.
Yeah. They weren't making that much money on tickets.
That's true. But the viewership and the contracts to view it on television were huge.
Yes.
And losing that, I think, hurt the most. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest what ifs from this whole pandemic. You could question, if a different team other than like the Bruins or the Lakers or the Bucks win championships this year for their respective leagues, you're going to sit there. If those teams win, there's going to be no what if. Those
Yep.
were the teams that were favored to win. But if some like 6 seed comes out of nowhere and LeBron's rusty and Giannis is rusty and goes crazy and some 7 seed wins the NBA title, it's going to be like, what if this didn't happen? LeBron should have another ring. Or the Celtics win randomly. Like that type of thing is like no one expected that, right? I'd be happy, but like that we didn't win it. Like I put if I was a Celtics fan, I put an asterisk there. But if I'm a Bruins fan, we were the best team in the league by far.
Yep.
Point wise, stat wise, we were going to win the President's Cup. The NHL was 1 week away from their playoffs.
It was super close.
It was so close. Like the Bruins were going to be the President's Trophy winners, the number 1 seed, the best team in the league, home ice. Very simple. If they won, there's no asterisk. Yeah. But again, in NHL hockey playoffs, any team could win. So if like a 5 seed or a 6 seed won and knocked off the Bruins, I don't know if I'm going to put an asterisk there. It's just so very, all the what ifs, but the biggest what if I think will be is what would have happened if the XFL could finish their season. That for sport wise, I think that's probably going to be the biggest what if to come out of this whole issue is what would have happened if this pandemic didn't happen. What the XFL, what could it have been?
I disagree. The biggest sports what if is what would have happened if Tony Ferguson finally fought Khabib. Because, God damn it, 5 times is too many to schedule a fight. 5 times. At this point, just don't make the fight. It'll never happen. I make my prediction right now. That fight never happens. Never happens. And we're just going to cry about it in 10 years. Or if they're going to fight, it's going to be in 6 years when they're both way past their prime.
And then Ferguson wins random.
Yeah. Or Khabib just says, fuck it, I'm retiring undefeated, which he's probably going to do anyway because he's the best fighter who has possibly ever lived. He's terrifying. Anyway, Josh, we have covered UFC 249. We have covered the recent happenings. I hit my laptop a little too hard. I'm still getting used to this whole mobile filming thing on my laptop.
This is crazy. I love it.
We have covered the recent happenings of the WWE on both Friday Night SmackDown and Monday Night Raw. We have covered our predictions for the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer. Is there anything left you have to say to our audience?
Jeff Hardy will be a WWE champion by the end of 2020.
I agree 100%. They're building him up too big not to be, and that because now Matt's gone, they don't have to be a tag team anymore, and they've always liked Jeff way more as a singles competitor. And please, he needs to win it. It needs to be no more words. It needs to be able to hit the swanton well again because he can't do it anymore. Like, I went back and watched him hit a swanton from, 2005. He does, his back arches, then he flips over, and now he just drops over.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you do it a bajillion times.
I know, but he can pull it off perfect at least one more time.
Absolutely. I can agree with that. I think he should save it and not, Jeff Hardy needs to play it safe. With Matt Hardy leaving, WWE did Matt Hardy terribly wrong at the end of his contract.
Get destroyed by Randy Orton 2 weeks in a row.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the booking before that. That made sense. Even if it was to write Hardy off of, TV for a long, long, long time.
Forever.
But even before that, after Wyatt left and became the Fiend, and Wyatt took that 6-month sabbatical, guess who didn't do anything? Matt Hardy. Again, they were always higher on Jeff Hardy as a singles competitor than Matt. Mm-hmm. So without a tag team, Matt fell behind and Matt left. Hardy's contract is up sometime at the end of 2021 due to injuries, extending it. It might even be the middle of 2021. And I think that you are absolutely right. They're going to push him balls to the wall, whether that's the top of the mid-card where he challenges for a WWE championship occasionally. He wins the Intercontinental Championship a few times. He will definitely be featured predominantly. I also think that Sheamus becomes a Grand Slam champion before 2021. For sure. I don't know if this is going to be my last episode of No Holds Barred. I'm treating each and every episode as the last one. You have my word that I will do it until at least the end of May, if possible, because I'll be business director here at XIN until at least the end of May.
Take a swim class and then beat David in an election.
Arthur said the same. I said, Arthur, I could take a swim class. He goes, that'd solve a lot of your problems. I go, Arthur, I want to graduate.
Graduate and then re-enroll.
What am I, E-Love? No.
New E-Love, Josh.
No, I can't do that. That's going to be Jake Elmsley. That's his role. That is his role.
Job anyway.
No. But I do think that those two things happen before the end of 2020. Sheamus wins the Intercontinental Championship, and Jeff Hardy is a WWE champion. Even for a day, even for a minute, whether that means cash in, anything, I do think that Hardy's going to be a main event talent till the end of 2020. He's a big face, and SmackDown is missing some faces right now, as you can tell with Roman Reigns out. Braun Strowman's the biggest face, apparently.
He's got the hands.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. But I think Jeff Hardy could be one of those top 3 guys. If you're going to have Reigns and Strowman, I think you can see Jeff Hardy up there as a face. I think Daniel Bryan as a face is going to stay in the mid-card, manage his time, manage what he does, limit his hard hits, put over younger talent, put over better talent sometimes, use the guys that aren't getting used. So I can see Jeff Hardy being as a top 3 face on SmackDown till the end of 2020, even leading up to WrestleMania. Maybe some type of Kofi Kingston type push leading up to Mania.
Potentially, but the whole thing was Kofi had never gotten to the top. Jeff Hardy is a multiple-time world champion.
That's true. But it's been a while. But what if he kept failing?
I guess we're going to have to find out.
Absolutely, but I do think that those are my 2 predictions for 2020 here.
Okay.
Sheamus, Grand Slam champion. Hardy, WWE champion.
All right, well, this has been yet another, at this point, nearly 2-hour-long episode of No Holds Barred in quarantine. I am your main and potentially only host going forward, Jacob Ottaviani.
And this is Josh Percy. Signing off.
Maybe,
maybe not. Hopefully I'm back. I'm
still recording this with me for a while. Until we're still out of quarantine, you're recording this shit with me.
Absolutely. I'll at least try. It might be a different background. I might be doing it from Maddie's. I might be doing it from somewhere else, but I'll at least try. I'll give you something each week.
I'm moving in June too, so.
Yeah.
All right. We will see all of our 1 or 2 adoring fans next week.
Always.
All right. See you guys later.